Taking apart a 50 years old radio, half of which is spent in the barn, is a bit of a struggle, as all the flathead screws are really rusted. Disassembling the knobs was the easiest part. All the electronics are fixed to a frame held in place with 4 screws, and after removing those, the interior comes right out. Original speaker board was held in place by 5 screws, one of which was placed behind the speaker itself, so I had to undo a few more nuts. Once the speaker board was free, I tried to peel the material off of it. Slowly and steady, it did come off. Next, I went about fixing first of many imperfections that the box came with. Fortunately, most of those are purely cosmetics and can be addressed with some wood glue and a little help from clamps. After that, I measured the bottom for making a support board which will cover the big hole in the middle and will become mounting surface for the Pioneer sub and the Pi with the HiFi Berry M+ unit. I then traced out my measurements on a plank of pine wood. And did the same with the speakers board, using the original one as a template, and marked speakers outline using an elliptical cardboard cutout I made. I went to the basement to do the cutting, where there are absolutely no conditions for filming, so I snapped a few photos with my phone camera. Most of the cutting was done using a circular saw, which can be adjusted to cut at 45 degrees angle. To make speakers opening, I had to drill a few pilot holes for the jigsaw. Next, I proceeded with carving out the wood so the speakers won't be protruding from the board. I don't have a molding machine and was really determined to move the project forward, so I used a Swiss Army knife and slowly carved out the wood, which took me forever and then some. Before gluing in the bottom board, I had to remove the feet in order to achieve a flat surface. The old plastic didn't want to give up easily, so I had to use some force. After 15 or so minutes, all feet were out, so I could clean up the surface with some sanding paper and a small wire brush. I then applied glue to the board, put it in place, and secured it with a pair of clamps. While the glue was drying, I moved on to making an aluminum frame for the Pi. This wasn't anything new, as I already fabricated such frames for the vintage VCR project. It's pretty simple. You take an aluminum U-shaped profile, measure the length between the installation holes in the Pi and mark bending point. Cut the aluminum at around 45 degrees angle on both sides of the marked spot. Remove triangle aluminum pieces and smoothen the edges with a file. Bend the aluminum while pressing against a flat surface to make sure it will turn out straight. Mark the other bending point and again cut, file, and bend. Next, drill holes for threaded inserts. And do it carefully. When I was drilling second to last hole, this happened. And so I had to start all over again. This time I was extra careful with drilling. Once the drilling was finished, I broke out the good old riveting gun with adapter for embedding threaded inserts. I fixed 4 of those for M3 size screws. Pi's mounting holes are a tiny bit too small for an M3 screw to go through, so I had to make them a bit larger, again with some help from my friend Mr. Cordless Drill. And that concludes part 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.